Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into something really fascinating, a collection of 12 ancient texts. We've picked these because they seem to share this powerful unified message. And our mission for you is to unpack a pretty profound spiritual conflict. Is this clash between absolute holiness and pervasive defilement?
It's quite compelling, yeah. And the central figure you see popping up is the messenger. Now, the Hebrew word malak and the Greek angelos, they just mean one who is sent. Simple as that. So a messenger is really defined by their job, their divine commission, to prepare the way for the Lord. It's not necessarily about their nature. Could be human prophets like Haggai or even priests like you see in Malachi. They're carrying out that function. It makes the role feel much more grounded, relatable.
Right, that's a really key distinction. It's about the task. So, keeping that role in mind, let's tackle this central conflict. How do these texts set up God's perfect plan for his people against the messy reality of their defilement? Okay, let's unpack that divine blueprint first. Originally, the idea was for God's people to have a perfect heart. That's lev shalem in Hebrew. It means whole, undivided, completely at peace with him. You see that in First Chronicles. And this wasn't just, a nice idea. It was the absolute bedrock for any real obedience, any meaningful service. Think of it like a consecrated first fruit. Jeremiah uses that image. Totally set apart, uniquely belonging to God.
Exactly. But here's where it gets really interesting and quite stark. These same texts then just pivot hard to this picture of defilement. You get the evil report from the spies and Numbers, right? Slandering the promised land. They say it's a place that devoureth them. And that's not just bad scouting. It's like a spiritual slap in the face. It's defaming God's promise, his character.
Wow, okay. So not just a strategic blunder, but a deep spiritual betrayal. What happens then? What are the wider consequences when a whole community sort of loses its spiritual bearings like that? What's the ultimate outcome described in these texts?
Yeah, it's serious. It leads directly to what you could call a spiritually insensate people. Jeremiah puts it bluntly. They have eyes, but they do not see. Ears, but they do not hear. He says they're without heart, no capacity for discernment. And it's not just like individual failings, it becomes systemic. Even familial idolatry, Jeremiah talks about whole families joining in to provoke God. And the consequence of all this profound defilement, ultimately it has to lead to separation. Hebrews warns about falling short of God's rest. Why? Because uncleanness just makes communion with a holy God impossible. It's a fundamental incompatibility.
That's a huge problem. An impassable barrier. Almost. So if uncleanness blocks communion, what's the way back? How do these texts point towards restoration? Where does the call to purification fit in?
Well, the texts are pretty clear on this. The core theme that emerges is a dual one, a call back to purity, but also a judgment on the corruption. You see it in Enoch, for instance. Woe to those who build unrighteousness and oppression. And it explicitly says they shall have no peace. That's the direct opposite of that perfect heart God intended. And thinking about this, it brings up a question for you maybe. Are we actually discerning the appointed time in our own lives? Ecclesiastes talks about this, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away. These ancient texts, they really push for that kind of deep spiritual discernment.
Discerning the times. But it's not all judgment, right? You mentioned hope. Acts, he said, reveals God's ultimate plan.
Exactly. Acts 15 gives us this incredible glimpse of hope, God's solution to rebuild the tabernacle of David, which hath fallen. And why? That the rest of mankind may seek the Lord. So yeah, the purification is crucial, but it's part of a much bigger redemptive plan. It's about drawing everyone in.
That's powerful. Purification is a step towards universal redemption.
Precisely. And for anyone listening who feels that call, that nudge, maybe to prepare the way themselves, or even just to understand this whole journey better, that messenger idea is key. Think about Elijah. Alone, isolated, and God asks him, "What doest thou here?" That's 1 Kings. It's kind of a reminder, isn't it, that true calling, that real commission, often comes when you step away from the corruption. And your own actions, your faithfulness. It matters. Like those winds from Enoch's heavenly portals, they become a channel for blessing, or maybe judgment, inevitably separating those reaching for purity from those holding on to defilement.
Wow. So when you pull it all together like that, across these different sources, you really see this coherent, quite potent message emerge. It feels like a timeless challenge, really, for you listening now, to aim for that perfect heart, to try and discern your own spiritual seasons, and maybe to actively join in God's work of purification and rebuilding in your own life and, in the world.
It really does leave us with a question, doesn't it, for you? With all the noise, all the conflicting messages out there, are you consciously listening for that that gentle whisper, the one calling you to maybe a deeper purity, a clearer purpose. What does preparing your own inner dwelling, your own heart, what does that look like for you right now as you try to really grasp and live out these ancient truths?